All right, gentlemen, we're trying to get through as much information so voters can hear where you stand on the issues in a compressed amount of time. So we're going to do a quick rapid fire section here. I'm looking for no more than one sentence answers. Earlier this week, the U.S. House voted on a resolution that would have expelled indicted U.S. Congressman George Santos. Local House members were divided on the vote. If you were in the House, would you have voted to expel Mr. Santos or not, Mr. Amo?
I wouldn't have voted to expel him because I believe in due process. And the Ethics Committee, as well as the Department of Justice, is going to go through its process. And after those results, I look forward to making a vote.
Mr. Amo, you would have kept him in Congress for now. Mr. Leonard, how would you have voted on that?
I too agree with a due process. I took an oath to support and then defend the Constitution of the United States for 30 years. He has every right to a due process, and I'd agree actually with my opponent.
Mr. Leonard, we'll stick with you. Do you support or oppose legislation that would legalize recreational marijuana for those 21 years of age or older at the federal level?
I am concerned about that. I will absolutely work with people on both sides of the aisle to come up with something that makes sense. And my concern is I've served in uniform. I'm not sure that I want, quite frankly.
You'd have to vote up or down, Mr. Leonard. Would you vote for it or against it?
Again, I would focus on taking a look at both sides of this thing. And specifically what I mean, I'm not sure I want soldiers that I led or Marines that I led with marijuana. Or airline pilots. So
okay,
maybe there's some exceptions.
Thank you, Mr. Leonard. Mr. Amo, how would you have voted?
Provided we do our due diligence on the public health concerns that are real and on the real social equity concerns about how people have been prosecuted in the past and the impacts on industry and critical industries, I would support legalization, but we have to tick through those necessary analyses to make that judgment.
All right, Mr. Amo, we'll stick with you. At a recent poll, 2/3 of Democratic-leaning voters say the party should not nominate Joe Biden for a second term. Do you support or oppose keeping Biden as a Democratic nominee for president?
I support the president. I support the president because of the first 2 years plus of his agenda. It's historic in providing relief to the COVID-19 pandemic and the resulting economic challenges and so much more.
Thank you, Mr. Amo. Mr. Leonard, polls show Donald Trump is the overwhelming favorite to be the Republican nominee for president next year. Do you support or oppose nominating Donald Trump for the White House once again?
I will support whoever the Republican nominee is. I know
I'm asking
not
you before the general
Joe Biden.
election. How would you do you support him being the nominee?
I will support whomever the nominee is. What I know I'm not going to do is vote for Joe Biden. I don't think our country can handle 3 more or 4 more years of this economy and this immigration mess.
So just to be clear, you won't say whether or not you support Mr. Trump as the nominee for the Republican Party?
We've got a long way to go. I will support whoever the Republican
All right,
Party
Mr. Leonard,
chooses.
we'll stick with you. Senator Sheldon Whitehouse has just proposed a bill that would effectively put 18-year term limits on Supreme Court justices. Would you support or oppose that bill if it came up for a vote in the House?
I do not see anything wrong with the way we've been doing. We haven't had a problem with our Supreme Court.
So you would
years.
oppose it, Mr. Amo?
I would support Senator Whitehouse's bill because our court has been captured by interests that are well funded and really have put too much politics in the court.
You would support it. And I'll give you last question here. I'll give you each a little more time on this one. Law enforcement say the suspect in the Maine mass shooting, Robert Card, had 2 AR-style guns. There are renewed calls for a federal ban on those types of weapons. Would you support or oppose a bill that would ban AR-style rifles, Mr. Leonard?
I will not support a ban against law-abiding citizens, period. I will work with both sides of the aisle to take a look at common sense solutions that fix, quite frankly, the mental health crisis we have in this country, and I'll make sure our law enforcement have the resources they need to do their job.
All right, Mr. Amo.
Unfortunately, I don't think this is a both sides issue. When families have to say goodbye to their loved ones at the hands of an assault weapon, that shows that Congress needs to act. And I would be not only support but sponsor legislation to ban assault weapons.